Well, Robert from KPMG is joining us, and the subject is substance. This is about businesses and having substance here, Rob, on the Isle of Man. KPMG, obviously, that's your thing you do. Things are changing all the time. Tax information here, UK, over to you. I mean, substance to me means you've got to prove you actually do something, right?
Yeah, and it's something that we've been preaching to our clients for a number of years, because in order to make sure that you're properly tax resident and that your profits belong in the Isle of Man, then you should have substance here anyway. But this is just the other way around of looking at it. So the EU and the OECD have come along and said, actually, we insist that you implement legislation, and that's not just here in the Isle of Man, it's in the other Crown dependencies, it's in the British Overseas Territories. You need to introduce legislation that effectively enforces that on locally registered companies.
So the old days of just those brass plaques over.
I mean, they've been gone for a while now,
have they?
Paul. But yeah, this is designed to, I guess, get rid of those that perhaps still remain for some in some possible way.
So is this not just an Isle of Man thing then? This is everywhere.
It's not. It's a measure that the EU initiated. They have now been joined by the OECD. The OECD particularly interested in this. The EU, perhaps we're looking at this through something more of a political lens. It was a way to ensure that particularly the UK's Crown dependencies and British Overseas Territories were brought into line. The OECD are going to make this more of a global initiative, so the OECD hopefully will level the playing field in that respect. And
the old days, the plaques, but I mean, some people won't know exactly what this entails, I'm guessing. That's why you're here today, almost, isn't it?
Yeah, most people who are affected by substance will have heard about it. Some won't. I guess the topical news story is that just last Friday, the Income Tax Division issued their latest and what we think is their final guidance in this area. A lot of people have been putting off taking action until the final guidance was issued, because they thought maybe it'd answer their particular question. So there's some blanks been completed, some blanks been filled by the Income Tax Division. There will still be plenty of blanks remaining. There'll be still lots of situations in which clients will have to interpret the rules in a particular way, exercise a bit of judgment. The guidance doesn't help in every respect, so people like us will have to help to fill in the blanks.
Who are you convincing, the Isle of Man tax authorities, or are you got to convince those people in London?
The Isle of Man tax authorities are obviously sort of all over this. They've been dealing in lockstep with their counterparts in Jersey and Guernsey in particular. Who we need to remind and convince and really get in touch with are people who either think that the substance rules may apply to them but aren't sure how they might comply, have not heard of the substance rules and therefore need to know what they mean for them. And then you've got those situations in which people know about the substance rules, they think they know how they might apply, but there's a degree of discretion and judgment that they're going to need to bring to bear. Do they do that themselves, or do they go to third-party independent advisors?
So has this caused lots of people to scatter from the island? Or
There'll be some.
Yeah.
There will be some. The EU had intellectual property holding companies firmly within their sights when they first came up with this initiative. It doesn't just apply to intellectual property holding companies, it applies to companies across various sectors, shipping, insurance, etc. But IP is where it was really aimed, and we think there probably will have to be at least some sacrificial lambs, so to speak. There'll be some intellectual property holding companies who look at these rules and think we can't comply, or either we do significant radical restructuring in order to make sure that we do comply, and that might mean bringing a lot of people away from the Isle of Man, or bringing people who aren't currently in the Isle of Man towards the Isle of Man. So it might be a good thing for Isle of Man PLC.
Yeah.
Equally, there'll be those who think that for commercial, logistical reasons, that's just not going to be possible for us, in which case they may have to find a new home. But hopefully, on balance, we'll see that this is a positive for Isle of Man PLC. And
you're saying it's not just here, so it's affecting everybody the same?
It's not affecting everybody, so the EU, because they kicked it off, didn't turn the microscope in on themselves. So there are
Luxembourg and places like that.
Luxembourg haven't got substance rules, Malta haven't got substance rules. There are some other low tax jurisdictions within the EU who haven't been asked to introduce them. So currently it's sort of extra EU, but because of what I was saying about the OECD getting involved, we very much expect everybody across the globe to step up to the mark and introduce substance rules to the extent that they're appropriate. It's aimed at low and no tax jurisdictions.
And it wouldn't be an interview that mentioned Brexit in there somewhere. Does that add extra complications to this whole thing?
Brexit, for once, possibly doesn't.
Okay.
get in the way here
Whatever
or
happens.
add complexity. Brexit's going to affect a lot of companies for in a myriad of ways, but substance isn't really going to overlap too much with Brexit. They're sort of too distinct.
Okay, so going to give people lots more paperwork and more work for you guys.
There'll be people are going to have to sort of be a bit more systematic and mechanical in the way in which they approach a company's governance. So, for example, board meetings, you may have got into a particular set of habits around the governance of board meetings. What the substance rules might mean is that you have to have more of them. You need to minute them in a more appropriate, better way. You might need to have people who currently have gotten used to not having to physically attend meetings in the Isle of Man actually get on a plane and attend those meetings, which is often good practice anyway.
Yeah.
But for substance purposes, you're kind of forced to. Otherwise, you've potentially got an issue.
And this is a moving bit of journey all the time, isn't it?
It is, in the sense that it came
The
really
rules have been
fast. It was only a year or so ago that the rules were first announced. The rules came in with effect from 1st of January 19, so they're live.
Right.
Companies are coming to the first period, or for December year ends, companies are coming to the first period end for which substance applies. So you've got to act fast if you haven't acted already. The guidance that was issued, as I say, is the sort of final guidance that the Income Tax Division expect to issue at least any time soon. So don't expect there to be anything more out there in the ether. This is the time to take action and to seek advice.